pleasure to see you, man. It's a pleasure to see
Man,
you, bro.
it's a pleasure to see you and get to talk to you, man. It's been a long time, and thank
It's
you for
been a long
always
time, bro.
long time,
Listen,
man.
dude, I've been gone from LA for like, damn, I left LA the end of 2005. You know what I'm saying? And I'm in New York now. I've been back in Queens for since that whole time. And
Yeah,
I've seen you early in my
yeah,
time in LA. So wow.
yeah, man. That had to be like '01 and '02.
Yeah. Because I had literally left out here in like the end of '99, the middle of '99, to go work with Tommy Davidson and just
Right
build
on.
and experience that all out there. That's how me and Shivani connected, and we connected.
Word.
You know?
Word, man. Yeah, definitely. Because I never even had a chance to find out like all of those tidbits, like
Right.
how did you meet Shivani?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of that, man. That's awesome, dude. Man, I left LA in '08,
Okay. Okay. A little after me.
a
Yeah.
little after you, and I was back I'm from Chicago, I was in
Right.
Chicago for about a year, and then I moved to South America
Oh
for
wow.
like 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, like crazy detour, like life takes you on
Yes, it does. Man,
incredible detours.
dude. It's still right now. Life is still like detours all directions. Like you have no idea what's gonna happen. So
So like make your plans, but be flexible. Be
well,
very
you know that
flexible.
saying. You know that saying.
Yeah.
What happened? Wait, what? What is it? Wait. How did I just have it and forget it?
I,
How do you
it,
make God laugh?
tell
Make
them
play.
your plans.
Make play.
It's true.
That's what you want to do?
Hey, okay, all right. That's cool. Well, you got good intentions. That's great. That's
Absolutely,
fine.
man. Yeah,
But
man.
you have no idea. So just you know, and I still think it's our duty to still have plans, because
Mhm.
it keeps us
Yeah,
getting sharp at whatever it is that we're doing, our skill craft, our
Mhm.
education, whatever it is. Plans or what kind of motivates us to like keep moving forward and say,
right.
okay, I'm working on this, I'm going to do this. But you don't realize what you're preparing for is something different than what you thinking it is. You know what
Right.
I mean? But you are preparing. You got to stay getting prepared. You know what I
We
mean?
all have to plan something. I mean, we plan what we're gonna eat the same day, So I mean,
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with making plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I guess, God, the creator, whatever you want to call the higher power that brought us here, he has his path for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that we all have whatever he placed in us, whether it's a gift or a passion,
Mm-hmm.
that we are supposed to seek out.
Yes.
We're supposed to go that direction. And a lot of us don't.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I
Yes.
mean, I think, and I can actually kind of verify that. There are lots of things I've been passionate about, a lot of nerdy geek things other than DJing and the music business. You know, years ago, I wanted to open a comic book store or a video game store. And I was
Word.
like, nah, nobody's ever going to get into this stuff. Look at the world now.
Right.
Look at the world now.
Oh,
Everything is a damn superhero something,
yep.
and everything is a damn video game. The biggest market on the
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah.
Like the globalization of video games. People are killing each other for a damn PlayStation 5. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's insane, man.
Not to mention the tournaments now and
Yeah.
2K tournaments and
Esports.
yeah,
Esports.
esports.
Oh,
Say no more.
done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, go after what is inside of you and don't
Mm-hmm.
look this way, don't look that way. That should be everybody's plan. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I've learned over, through experience. That's
For
what I've learned.
sure.
Yeah,
Because it's in you for a reason.
absolutely.
The
No
reason isn't
accident.
always clear, but it's there. You
Mhm.
enjoy it. You can see yourself excelling at it. So
Right.
it's
No
there for
accident.
a reason.
Right. Yeah, man. So I mean, hey, the music thing is it's in me. And it always has been, from when I was a young kid. I'm like the youngest of seven kids, and I
Okay.
had a bunch of older sisters, and they would have people come around the house. Uh, my mom used to play the piano.
Oh, word.
Some other people used to play, and I mean, not serious, but we had a piano in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first little curiosity to music. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
around this, that, and I learned a couple little chords and keys and stuff. I never
Right
learned
on.
how to play officially. And then in public school, we had guitar class, so that's kind of like when I got on my game. I like the guitar and I like the bass
Okay, right
specifically,
on.
and I was around a lot of music because, again, I'm growing up in the early '70s. You know what I'm saying? I'm born in '66, so I'm coming up amongst that funk soul era of real
Man,
good music, and we had all kind of music playing on the radio. So
yes.
all kind of music was coming through my house. We had all those variety shows from you know from Flip Wilson to anything that was dope. Soul Train. We had so much music coming through my house, so I was exposed to just a lot of
Right
catalog,
on.
a lot of catalog,
Right
a lot
on.
of different types of music. So that
Mhm.
was what really caught me, once I learned about DJing,
So
and
now this is in Queens. You're
yes, sir.
originally from Queens as well?
Born and raised
Okay,
Queens, man.
right on.
I was living in Corona, Queens, uh, till around 8 or 9 years old. Then I moved to East Elmhurst. It's
Okay.
only a few blocks away. It's actually like, it's the borders of the neighborhoods are just
Hmm.
blocks. So
Sure, sure. Same here. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, I was mainly raised in East Elmhurst.
Okay, right on.
That's the foundation, and that's where the 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 magic began, should I say?
First DJ you saw, or one of the first that made you say, yo, I want to do that.
We had a mobile DJ, a local mobile DJ that used to play in the park all the time. It was a crew called King Charles, and he had a couple guys in there. Actually, it's so ironic. One of the guys that was kind of like featured DJ of that mobile DJ crew was this guy named DJ Vern. And this guy's like my best friend now. Like I used to
Okay.
watch him. He's older than me, just a few years older than me. But he was like one of the people that was like doing his thing back then, and kind of like neighborhood celebrity. You know how it
Right
is.
on. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Neighborhood celebrity, and the whole crew just amazed me because it was like they're like a machine. It's like they all come together, they form Voltron, and they make this thing happen.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, you just see them move and move the crowd, and I'm just like, man, that is so cool. We need to do like, I had a little crew of friends. I'm like, we need to try to do something like that. We're
Right.
young. We don't have nothing. Like, we're not working. We're young. We're like 10 years old, young. That's how
Right.
young
But that's
we
where
are.
it starts.
Yeah. And I'm like, yo, your mom's got a record player, right? Yeah, my mom's got a record player. Let's put our
Right.
record players together. And that's how I learned how to DJ. We didn't even have a mixer. We just saw these guys in the park, and they had real professional DJ equipment. They had the Techniques 1100s. They had homemade Bertha speakers, and they call them Bertha because they used to have a thing called Bertha Butt back in the days, like the record Jimmy Castor. So these speakers
Okay.
were huge. They made them from scratch. These people,
Word.
like, yeah, man, like 18-inch woofers, two in one cabinet, just
Wow.
insane stuff, man, insane. Them,
So
the
they had
people.
to build their own systems back
Well,
then. Like,
yeah, not everybody, because I'm just saying, if you had the know-how, it was always cheaper to do that.
right.
To build your own. But they had store-bought stuff as well. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? I'm just saying, it was always a thing back then. Who had the most equipment? Who had the most sound?
Wow.
Who could blow down the block the loudest?
Right.
So it just got out of hand. So, but I mean, I got on that to say, as a kid, we couldn't afford any of that. So we just had to take what we had in the house and act like we was doing something. You know, we was in the basement, just a cheap, some people say Radio Shack turntable. I remember specifically my dad had a brand called Gerard turntables. It was plastic, you know, a plastic platter, cheap cartridge removal, tone arm.
Straight arm like a mug.
Yeah, straight arm, you know, and that's how I learned. We had two of those, and we used the actual stereo receiver as the mixer. We plugged one turntable into the right side, the other turntable into the left side, and used the balance as the actual fade knob. That's how.
See, now that is such a hip hop tale.
That's how we did it.
Just taking what you have and making it what you needed.
No headphones, no headphone jack, because there was no mixer.
There's no cue system.
There was no way to listen. We just had to go by sight. You know, we knew the record. We would mark the records, get our magic marker. Oh, the break starts here, this starts there, and we just went by sight and would spin back when we knew how many times it circled. Yep. Between King Charles and the Disco Twins, that was another mobile DJ crew from Astoria. You know, everybody's from Queens. There were a lot of mobile DJs from Queens and Brooklyn that would come through to the park right across the street. It was 127 Park. There's actually a documentary I was a producer on called Founding Fathers. It's narrated by Chuck D.
Okay.
If you go on YouTube, type in Founding Fathers Chuck D.
Check that out for sure.
It should come right up. It's an incredible education on all of the mobile DJs before hip hop really began. You know, you'll get a lot of history, and we have a lot of legends in there breaking down the history. Like we got one of the pioneers of DJs of all time, Pete DJ Jones. Some people consider him the father of all DJs, even before Kool Herc and Bambaataa. Like Pete DJ Jones is one of the founders as well, you know. And I'm not taking anything away from Herc or Bambaataa, because they were the evolution of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, even Herc was an evolution from somewhere. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So Herc is the one that played the funk, the breaks. So him and Bambaataa, like this is why they're considered the fathers of hip hop.
Gotcha.
But DJing period, you need to talk about Pete DJ Jones first. So this documentary breaks down all of these DJs. We have DJ Hollywood in there. We have all of these legends, just breaking it down. So
when did your first setup and when did the name come about?
Okay. Well, you know, back then, it was a thing to have like this real grandiose, so huge, incredible name. You know, names were like superhero names, like, you know, like the Uncanny X-Men. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the Mighty Avengers, the Fantastic Four. So my name, and I took this from one of my DJ idols back then, was the Grand Wizard Theodore.
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, I always considered like Theodore and Grandmaster Flash, like they were like the two top guys in the city at the time. So, and Flash was really considered the one. Flash was doing stuff nobody was doing. So Theodore was like right underneath him to me. So I said, okay, so I'm going to be Grand Wizard. And so I took Grand Wizard, and then I just used my initials, because the other thing back then that was popular is you just took your initial, depending on what it was, and put that on the end of the hip little rap or DJ name. So some people would say MC such and such and D or P or P, like, yo, Styles P. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody.
Ice-T.
Yeah. So I said, I'm the Grand Wizard M.E. because my first name is Mark, my last name is Eastman. So it was, or
Grand Wizard M.E.
or the Wizard M.E. Like, you know, but it sounded powerful. Like,
right.
That's how we rolled back then. You know what I'm saying? So My friends just called me Wiz for short. They called
Ah,
me Wiz, and then over time, it just got smaller. Saying instead of saying, "Oh, my name is the Grand Wizard ME" or the Wizard ME, they just started calling me Wiz.
okay.
And I was a DJ, so they just started calling me DJ Wiz. It just over time, it just kind of
And there you
condensed.
have it. So wow, birthed it from Grand Wizard Theodore. That's
Yeah, I
dope.
mean, look, it was the same thing with Kid and Play. I mean, Kid Play's original MC name, back then, and I didn't become a part of Kid and Play till 80, late 87, 88, because that's when they came out. But I've known these guys since childhood. We were all in different crews in the neighborhood. We're all from the same neighborhood, but we were all.
Right.
But just to give you more examples of how big the names were back then, Play's rap name was MC Playboy, the Lady's Joy. That was his full
Word.
name. He
MC
didn't become
Playboy,
cool
the
until much
lady's
later.
joy.
Yeah,
He
MC
had a
Playboy.
rhyme in the name.
Exactly. This is what I'm
Right.
saying. This sounds big. Oh man, that's
Right.
Playboy, the Lady's Joy. Oh man. And then Kid was the Kid Cool Out. That was his name. The Kid Cool Out.
Oh.
It wasn't just Kid.
Wow. Okay.
Everybody had these big grandiose names. And another example, our producer, Herbie Lovebug. Back then, he was Herbie the Love Bug, like the movie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just like the movie, Herbie the Love Bug. Like from 76, 77, all the way up to like 81. I was doing my thing as a youth on the cheap equipment, should I say.
But getting it done. Getting it done.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You see what we're doing to get it done. So,
getting it done.
And we were buying records from a local record store in the neighborhood, Wally's Record Shack. It doesn't exist anymore. It closed way early.
For sure.
We used to hang out in there. And just look at records and say, okay, when I get my allowance this week, I'm gonna buy that one. Right. But I didn't get my actual turntables probably till around 79. I want to say 78, 79. Like it took me a little bit to get my turntables. I had Techniques SLD ones, direct drive. That was their first lower priced model direct drive turntables. It was like an entry level, but professional direct drive turntable. I was no way I was going to be able to afford a 1200 or an 1100 back then. Like they were still way out of range. Those were for professional.
But
DJ.
You got direct drive now, at least.
Oh yeah. Because I had put my hands on some Techniques belt drives, and it wasn't the same, Oh, and I have to detour a little side.
Please do, yes.
Little side experience and story. One of the guys in my little crew called the B-Boys, like that was the crew that we pieced our equipment together. One of my friends, Ron Lawrence, his brother was a professional DJ. He was like a big time DJ in the city. His name was Dance Master. He's also in the documentary I mentioned. Okay. Fathers. This guy had professional Technique 1100 turntables, like and I think, did he have a GLI mixer? This guy had an actual DJ Coffin. Like he had the first DJ Coffin that I've ever seen.
Okay, right.
He had one. And as a matter of fact, the DJ Coffin, from what I remember, was invented by this guy named Richard Long. And this guy, Richard Long, made custom-made speakers. And it was basically his brand. It was called Richard Long. Okay. And he also built a lot of the sound systems in a lot of the big clubs like Studio 54 and all of the big clubs in New York City. So he was like the standard for professionalism. So I actually got to touch one of those Technique turntables back then, thanks to my friend Ron Lawrence. And Ron's
feel the power.
Yeah, like you got to touch what it should feel like. So once you experience that, you can't go back. You're like, oh, I gotta get that because this is how it's like you know, once you ride in something that's real luxurious, you're like, oh man, I've been dealing with a piece of crap.
Now I gotta go back to my bucket.
Yes.
And you appreciate your bucket.
Oh man, yeah, I appreciate you, but man.
But man, because I can remember my first time touching 1200s. I had been using, I had graduated to 2 turntables that matched.
Right.
They were Gemini belt drives.
Yeah.
But then it was my first year in college, and a friend of mine was in a DJ class, and I sat in the class one time and I jumped up on the turntables and I felt that 1200, that I'm holding the record and that platter is still just unfazed. That motor is still going without dragging because I'm holding the record. And I was like, oh, this is what this is supposed to be, you know. And then with that quartz, the pitch,
quartz lock. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, okay. And then, like you said, like I had to go back to my hoopties, but I couldn't stop until I got those 12s though.
It's painful. It's painful going back. Man. It's like
painful. And it was like, I've got to DJ more so I can get my money up to get these 12.
Right. Yeah. So you know my pain. Back then, I was dealing with that SLD ones, and I'm like, man, you know, all right, I'll deal with it. And you know, I made it work, you know, because as a DJ, you had to customize how the platter felt to you. You know, we use wax paper, we use regular paper, and put a felt on top of that.
Yep.
Some cats used to have aluminum foil, all kind of stuff.
All sorts of wild stuff.
Yeah, man. Like, all right. You know, and you just made it comfortable for you to get busy. Everybody customized their turntables to whatever they needed to do to play the best they could.
Exactly.
So years ago, you know, I can't even remember when I actually purchased the 1200s, but it was a beautiful thing to have.
Beautiful day.
Oh my God. But I was doing so much other stuff because you got to understand the scene was so different. The hip hop scene was totally different in the early 80s. There was no sampling. Everything was just made from scratch, you know. We didn't sample. There were no sampling machines yet.
You were the loop machine.
Yeah, exactly.
You were the sampler.
Yeah. I mean, I was into learning about programming. I had purchased a Commodore 64 computer because they had actual music software on there.
Okay.
Had a Casio CZ101 synthesizer, the little mini synthesizer, which is still dope to this day. Yeah. Because it has some of the most dope analog sounds.
I mean, you pay thousands of dollars for something to emulate that now.
Yeah. So, you know, it was all just a building process, you know. I'd buy this, I'd buy that one at a time, you know. In between there, you know, as a young teen, I'm working and I'm just aspiring to get more stuff, to just become better and buy more records and buy more of this, you know. So
right on.
Yeah, so I mean, but in a nutshell, from the Grand Wizard and me to DJ Wiz, from the Gerard turntable to the SLD ones, and King Charles, the Disco Twins, those were like my examples. And and I'd say that went up to like 81. Like all of that happened between 76, 77 to 81. And then in 81, I kind of went on to be the DJ for this group called the Turnout Brothers. And that was when me and Kid were in the same group. Say, you know, that couple of years in between, I learned a lot. You know, I learned a lot more over those couple of years. And when I got to be with my crew, the Turnout Brothers, it was the Kid Cool Out, my other brother, Ron Lawrence, whose brother was DJ Dance Master, this guy named Rockin' B, and this other guy named Clevio the Rock Child. They were the 4 rappers. I was the DJ, you know. My friend Ron Lawrence, his name was MC Ronnie Tough. He was tough. And by the way, Ron Lawrence later went on to become Amin Ra from the rap group Two Kings in the Cipher. And he also became one of Puffy Diddy's hitmen. And he created Biggie's biggest hit, Hypnotize. Yeah, so I mean, it's so funny because there's so much history of people that come from this part of Queens, East Elmhurst, that have done so much for the culture. You know, like we really have like a untold legacy. So I have to share it as much as I can about the people that come from this neighborhood. That
man, that
really,
might be a documentary idea right there. I'm sure you've already thought about that. You know what I mean? Like your pocket. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. Like, man, I got it. And I didn't even tie it in. I have a Two Kings in the Cipher 12-inch around here somewhere. Like I remember from like,
you know which one it is? Was it Moving on Them? Moving on Them, or because Moving on Them was their first. Moving on Them was their first single.
It came out probably like around 92, 93, I want to say.
Is it Moving on Them? It might be Moving
I have to look at. I have to go dig for that one.
Right,
but I remember
that group had two of the biggest producers of all time. I mean, D-Dot, Derek Angeletti went to produce.
Derek Angeletti.
He went to produce the Benjamins. All about the Benjamins, man.
You totally messed me up. Like Two Kings in the Cipher. Heard of him? Yes.
Yes.
Knowing that was Amin Ra Lawrence and Derek D-Dot Angeletti, the mad rapper.
Yes, sir. Right? Absolutely.
That I've totally missed that.
Jim. But you see, but that's why you're doing what you're doing right now. So people you can learn, and people can learn. Like we all have ties.
I'm all about getting the details. Like, how did that come in? Who did they know, and where did they come from? I love it. Love it, man. That's why when you say, "Oh yeah, I'm going off a little bit," I'm like, "Yeah, that's where them nuggets be." When you kind of go off, oh, by the way, this happened. Yeah, that's sick, man. So now you're with the crew that had
Turnout Brothers. I was with the Turnout Brothers in '81. So here's some history with this. We played around the city and we got kind of popular. Like we were probably the biggest thing in Queens at that time. We're talking like 81, 82. I'm the DJ. This was major for us because we actually had another legend living in the neighborhood. You're familiar with the world's famous Supreme Team? Okay.
Yes, sir.
C Divine, the mastermind, lived right across the street from Ron at one point in time. And he had the radio show, the world's famous Supreme Team. C Divine, the mastermind, Just Allah, the superstar. You see these names? Like, you see these names, though? So you get the whole, why we were who called what we were back then. Gotcha. Everybody's name was
and
big.
These are early 5%er brothers. And
yes. Yeah. So they had their radio show on WHBI back in the days. And they played local talent. They put us on the radio. They recorded one of our routines or two of our routines and played it on the radio. And there was no hip hop radio back then other than WHBI. Right. There was none. We weren't on WBLS. There was no Hot 97. None of that stuff. You know, there was no hip hop on commercial radio prime time. So
right, I can remember that. Like there was no hip hop on the radio here in Chicago. Right. I can remember.
Looking 81, 82. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So
No,
you know, we had them. We had the world's famous Supreme Team. We might have had Mr. Magic. We had Zulu Beats. Then the Awesome Two. Like these were the only guys that were around in the early '80s. So C Divine and Just Allah had the world's famous Supreme Team. C Divine lived in our neighborhood. He knew about us. He put us on. Like he played our routine on the radio and we blew up. Then we became part of the scene, the hip hop scene back then in the early 80s. We would played different parts of the city with the guys we considered legends. But
Mhm.
the Supreme team would do their own parties. So they actually put us on to perform with them. It was awesome.
Word. Okay.
We performed uh, at a roller rink in Queens back in the day called USA Roller Rink. It's legendary. It's legendary. I think
Okay.
that was one of the first times that New Edition came to New York. They played there. There was a
Okay.
promoter,
Right on.
Baby J, who's also in that documentary. You got to go watch this documentary.
I
You'll
gotta
go.
go watch this documentary. Yeah.
Yeah, Founding Fathers. That's the name of it. Narrated by Chuck D. So the Supreme team did a party at USA Roller Skating Rink. They put the Turnout Brothers as part of it, themselves headlining, of course, and they also had a group called the Force MCs on that. Okay, so
From Staten Island.
that was our introduction to Stevie D, Mercury, and the Lord K1, sorry,
Mhm.
Lord K1, and DJ Dr. Rock. DJ Dr. Rock, God bless his soul, he's not here anymore. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was a beautiful time. I actually have some really bad audio of one of the gigs we did in Mount Vernon, New York. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I have it on. I still have
Wow.
an actual 8-track of it. That's why
That's
it's
awesome that you still have that.
yeah, it's an artifact. It's an artifact, man. This is like from '82, so it's 40 years old.
Wow,
It's
man.
40 years
And you
old.
recorded onto an 8-track.
Well,
You
this is the
said
thing. I had it on the cassette and I dubbed it to 8-track as well. Back
okay,
then,
got you.
I did that. Um,
Right.
yeah. So that's crazy. I just realized it's 40 freaking years. Wow, that is
Wow,
amazing.
man.
But
So man, tell
so
me
so
what
the
else?
Supreme
Wow.
the Supreme team helped blow us up, so to speak. This is before Run DMC. This is before LL. This is before all of that.
Right.
Yeah,
And all Queens, of course. LL
baby.
Run DMC,
Yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah.
we were big in the city back then, 82.
hmm
You know what I'm saying? There was no Run DMC. There was
Right.
none of that back then. Yeah.
Wow, man. That's it. That's it. So how did it progress and then like maybe at one point did you either jump to a new crew or at one point how did you hook up with the Playboy?
Yeah, the Kid Cool Out and the Playboy. Okay, so remember, Kid is in my group right now in '82. He's in
Right.
my
Right.
him, Ron Lawrence, Cleve, and Rock and B. So eventually the group broke up. We didn't stay together that long, actually.
hmm
So after we broke up, everybody went, doing their own thing. Kid and Play actually got together and were in two more groups before they were actually Kid and Play. They were in a group called Celebrity Club, and they did a remake of Curtis Blow's "If I Rule the World." I think it was called like "Girls Rule the
hmm
World." Like they did something with two girls. It was Kid and Play and two other girls. They have a song, "Girls Rule the World." Anyway,
Okay.
that was one incarnation of Kid and Play doing their thing. And this is
Got
again
you.
after Turnout Brothers. Then they were in a more well-known group called Fresh Force. They did some other cover records. Cover records were like a thing back then. They had a record called Rock
Right.
Me, which was based off Rock Me Amadeus. Um, and they also had a record called All Hail the Drums. And they had another record called She's a Skeezer, which was a knockoff of My Adidas, basically, called She's a Skeezer.
Got you.
Yeah, so that was the two groups Kid and Play were in together before they were actually Kid and Play. Kid and Play happened in '87 with the first single, Last Night. produced by Herbie Love Bug.
That was the Esther Williams sample, right?
Yes, yes. Esther
Right.
Williams, along with the brothers Johnson in the
For
back.
sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and Dexter
Yeah,
Wansell.
yeah.
Dexter Wansell was the beat, like all of that. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that was Dexter Wansell on there.
Yeah, that's Dexter Wansell.
Incredible. Another gem.
Yeah.
And that's so funky because some of his open drums are so funky. I've just looped his drums before recently, and it's just like his pocket is just bananas. But wow, okay.
That was a Theme from the Planet.
So now,
that was the name of the break. I think it was Theme for the Planets or something like that. If you type Dexter Wansell break, it'll come up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, man. So like, how did it come that you were asked to be a part of the legendary Kid and Play crew?
Well, like again, since we're all from East Elmhurst, Queens, we've all known each other since young teens, childhood, and we're rival crews all of those years, but we were all cool with each other. In '87, Herbie Love Bug tapped me and said, "Hey, you should DJ for these guys." And Kid and Play, they were like, "Sure, why not?" That was it.
And you were like, "I know them." Did you work at the Sears with them or anything like that?
No, I didn't work at the Sears with them. So I was the younger one in the crew. Those like Kid and Herbie are 2 years older than me. Play is 4 years older than me, so I was like the younger guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah. But again, we're still all teens hanging out in the same couple block radius, so we all we're close. And at this time we're older teens, early 20s, like we're getting up there now. So
gotcha.
Herbie, because he was hot from getting Salt and Pepper out, like Herbie was the man.
Mm-hmm.
Every independent label wanted anything Herbie touched, pretty much. So
okay, Herbie was the man. Herbie was the man for sure.
Herbie was the man. Between Herbie and Marley Marl, there was nobody else around at the time.
Those were definitely them, and I guess probably throwing a little Teddy Riley.
Yeah, and actually, this is pre-Teddy. This is around the time Def Jam started. Like Def Jam was just really coming into their own. LL was here already, but Russell Simmons was the force that was making things go global at this time. But independently, it was guys like Herbie and Marley Marl that were making the streets be what it was. You know what I mean? We had a whole lot of
Queens in the building all day, right?
Yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on. But think about it. There was so much independent artists back in then. Rap was nothing major. There was nothing major label about rap outside of Def Jam.
Sure, yeah, of course.
So, but Queens absolutely was a stronghold back then. If it wasn't for people like Herbie and Marley Marl, who really put Queens on the map outside of Run and LL, man, Queens really put a stronghold on it early.
It really did, man.
And I'm not and I'm not excluding our legends that inspired us, because you have to look at,
of course,
Sugar Hill Records, Flash, the Treacherous Three, Enjoy Records, everything that came out in the early 80s, like 79. 1979, when King Tim III was made, then Rapper's Delight came out, So from that point on, that we're starting to get our national exposure to rap and hip hop, but it was the guys from Queens that kind of like took it to a super another level, I always give my props to the Sugar Hill Gang, Flash, Treacherous Three, the Funky Four, plus one more. Oh God, I used to love me some Shy-Rock back in the days. Oh my God, Shy-Rock was like, she was like, and you know, when you have crushes on people, like she was a female rapper and she was like dope. She was a dope female.
Badass, right?
Yo, she was like, we idolized the Funky Four, Grandmaster Flash, Furious Five. I said, you know, Grand Wizard Theodore, all of these groups, man. So, you know, before Queens was able to do what they did, that's who we looked up to, you know?
For sure. Of course, man. I mean, even just, my God, what a guy like Cool G Rap did for emceeing.
He's
And
from our
then later,
Cool G Rap is from our neighborhood, by the way. Another one.
word,
Yes.
East Elmer.
East Elmhurst, Corona. Yeah.
And then, you know, and then now, of course, not to mention down the line, Nas from Queens. And yeah. I mean, and I'm a Chicago guy, so I'm, you know, getting a lot of this knowledge a little bit later, because Chicago was more, it was house.
Right.
You know, we were a house music.
We talking like, you know, late 80s, early 90s then. Absolutely. I get it, you know?
So so I remember my first time seeing yourself and Kid and Play on the screen was you know, what was the first single? My Way.
The first single.
Well, I won't say the first single. I won't say it was the first single.
Yeah,
that was the first single. That
was the first video.
First video.
Yeah, first video single.
And so now this is why we have to give respect and the utmost importance to Yo MTV Raps from Fab Five Freddy, because he presented Kid and Play and DJ Wiz to a sixth grader in Chicago.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have had any other way of knowing who you guys were. It was Fab Five Freddy who brought it to us. And now I had heard the record because, shout out, rest in peace to Pink House, DJ Pink House from Chicago. He was one of the first radio DJs who was, you know, was playing hip hop on a college station here in Chicago. But getting our eyes onto some of these New York artists was Fab Five Freddy that brought them to us, and who brought that video to us. And I can remember, I remember getting and the reason the video stands out so much is because of what you are wearing.
Right.
It was a simple, you guys had on like these black mock turtlenecks or something.
Right.
Black pants, the tapered ankles, and the black, I think, was like patent leather shoes. And I had to have, it was simple but clean. And I had to have that outfit. And I got that outfit, and the way it looked on screen with the white backdrop, and he had like the Robert Palmer girls, you know, dancing with y'all, playing the horns. Like, man, that was that was just one of those moments, man. Like, where were you when you first heard this group or first heard this song? Like, I vividly remember seeing that video on for the first time. And I was like, all right.
It's real because, you know, again, everything was so new back then. Everything was so new. You know, you mentioned Fab Five, Yo MTV Raps. Shout out to the late Ted Demme, who created the show.
Absolutely.
Listen, I mean, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of my partners. Shout out VJ Ralph McDaniels of Video Music Box.
Ralph McDaniels, and we didn't have him.
Right. Because it was a local show. It was local. But without Ralph, none of it would exist. I'll just go on record and say
none of that would have existed.
Because, I mean, Yo MTV Rap wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Ralph McDaniels.
Without Ralph. Exactly. Exactly.
This. And everybody, if you haven't seen You're Watching Video Music Box documentary, go watch it. It just came out the top of the year. Go watch that so you can really see the history of how this culture was kind of curated.
So we got that and Founding Fathers. And Ralph McDaniels.
Yes.
Such an important figure.
Yeah.
You know,
Ralph started Video Music Box, I believe, in '83. So it's about to be 40 years for that. That's a big deal.
Wow.
That is a big
Yeah.
deal. You understand? Like
Yeah.
40 years of presenting hip hop way before MTV, way before.
Right. Right.
So,
Right,
and
man.
also
That's incredible.
Nas executive produced that documentary. He's in it. Like
Okay.
it's major. Yeah, everybody go watch that.
Okay, that's what's up, man. That's what's up. So let's like fast forward just a little bit, and now what is life like? Do you remember what it was like your first time being a tour DJ? And
Nervous,
was that like
nervous,
it's one thing to
excited.
be a DJ in the crew. Now you with a crew who's got a hit record, and now we got a tour. It's not just get dressed at home, go do a gig, and come back home. It's like dates now. What was that like for you?
Well, I was so young and so green. I had no idea.
How old were you now? In
Well, all right. So this is night. Damn. How old was I back then? I mean, this is 30.
so
This is 30, 32 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, actually
so
30,
this is
34, because Kid and Play came out at the end of 87, 88. So,
right.
I mean, damn. I was early 20s, man, like 20,
Yeah.
21, 22. I was young, man, you know, because I'm 55.
And it's funny because at the time you just thought you was an adult, but now looking back, you're like 22. I was a baby. I was a kid.
So
a baby when you're 22.
Again, so this whole scene is new, like totally new for every one of us. We're now treated like, you know, celebrities, and wherever we go, you know, and I wasn't treated like celebrity like those two guys were, because I was in the back. But if you pay attention and you see me on the stage and you say, "Oh, that guy, yeah, like him too," like it. So it was exciting.
See, do you remember the first time I met you?
Was it in the studio? It was in
the studio. It was in Buster Shivani's studio. Right. And I'm bringing this up to tie into what you just said about, I was the DJ, so I was in the background. People didn't know. But see, me, the DJ was always the biggest star to me.
Right.
Going back from, you know, Grandmaster Flash, because we did have Grandmaster Flash in Chicago. Right. We did know about Flash in Chicago. So that was the star. And that still carried with me a long time after maybe the record started selling and the MC kind of got catapulted to the forefront. So we're in the studio, you know, I greet Shivani. He was like, "Hey, y'all, this is, you know, this is the new assistant engineer. This is Milio." And I meet this brother, you know, light-skinned brother, like, "What's up, man?" You know, he's like, "Chris." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And then I meet this other brother. He's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" "Wiz." And I'm like, "Wiz? You a DJ, right?" Like, you like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Yes, you can play DJ." You were like, "Yeah." Like, you were almost surprised that I was so like,
"Yeah, I do remember that. I do."
And then you were like, "That's Kid right there." And I was like, "Oh shit." I'm sorry. And I felt bad. I'm like, "I'm sorry. I didn't recognize Kid." Right. But I was like, Wiz. You know what I mean? And true story. Totally true story. I said, "Look, man, I'm sorry." But like, man, the DJ was always the guy to me. And so I could spot everybody's DJ. Like, if I see Wiz or if I see Tap Money or any, you know what I mean? Or if I see DJ Polo, I could spot them in the street because my eye was always on the DJ. You know what I mean? Which led to me becoming a DJ and so on and so on. But yeah, man, like, and this is what I'm doing here with Crackle Jack is this is a part of what I'm calling my DJ Legends interview series where I want to talk to the DJs of these legendary crews. Back when you were on the bill, you know, everybody knew who this
Right.
rapper's DJ was. If you was really a fan of the DJ, first
Right.
of all, his name might be on the record, and even if it wasn't, you totally knew that Chuck D's DJ was Terminator X, or you knew
That's
who
right.
Scott LaRock was, and
Right.
then D Nice, and then
Right.
Kenny Parker. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you always knew that Prince Paul that's his DJ. You know, like that was always a thing. And so like I want to just like make sure guys still get notarized, still get their shine, still can tell their stories, you know, just like the MC or anything. Because the next series is going to be the dancers. Because like because I miss that. I love that still. The MC or two MCs, whatever it is, and two dancers and a DJ. Like I come
Right.
from music and I love bands, but you can leave the band at home when I
Right.
want to see my favorite MC.
Right. You're
I
you're
want
you're
that DJ up there.
you're on point though. Just the order that you're doing things, because a lot of
Mhm.
times the DJs and the dancers get overlooked, but you know the real
They do.
fans, they acknowledge everybody, and you know that's kind of like why we did that whole founding fathers thing, because people need to know the
Mhm.
history before the history about the DJs, the important DJs that helped make this culture what it was. But also, I just want to plug my homeboy Play. He actually has a series. He started doing a series. He has one documentary up now and available called "And I Danced" for the dancers,
Oh,
and it has all of those legendary
I-
dancers that you're talking about. Like
oh,
it's
nice.
pretty thorough too, man. It's pretty thorough.
Oh man, I have to check that out.
And I danced like put.
Oh man, see,
So
I have to
you got
check
some
that.
homework to
Like Kid and
do.
Play didn't need dances. What'd you say?
You got some homework because you got. I done gave you three things to watch already. You know what I'm
You
saying?
did.
All
Founding
important ones.
Fathers.
Founding Fathers.
You
You're
gave me
watching
Founding
Video Music Time.
Fathers.
You're watching Video
You
Music
watched
Time,
me and I danced.
and I danced. Like it's about the legendary dancers from back in that era.
Damn,
Yeah, it's dope.
man,
Dope.
that's incredible. Because I wanna talk to those guys. Like those were they
Yeah.
were just like the DJ, just like the MC. They were as big as part, just as big of a part of the show
Right.
as anything. You
Yeah.
know, there was no rapper until maybe Rakim who came along where you were just where I'll just say me, where I
Mhm.
was just mesmerized and didn't, you know, Eric B super low key
Right.
and they have dances. Like Rakim was one of the only ones who first came along where I was like, oh, I didn't quite miss that he didn't have dancers, you know what I mean? But like
Yeah.
everybody else, I mean, Kane, you know, with Scoob and Scrap and MC Lights dances like leg one, leg two, like
Dude, Scuba and
all
Scrap.
all of the guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Def Jeff's dancers.
Soul
I
Brothers.
think the
Soul
Soul
Brothers.
Brothers.
Yeah. 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 Incredible. Yeah.
Man.
There's and that's the thing. You're gonna see a lot of those guys in this documentary, but it's still ongoing. Like Play still has more stuff that he's gonna add, like another piece to this documentary. But it's
Another volume or whatever.
yeah. But he talks to a lot of those guys, you know, and the girls too. Like he talks to a lot of the girls who were in the videos. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Latifah's dance.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
Latifah, that is,
yeah.
um, Kika and Al. Kika, the Safari Sisters. That's what they call them. The Safari
Safari
Sisters.
Sisters. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh man, that's it. So man, like a little bit more about tour life. What was like the first like big tour that you guys went on? And like
The first
what do you
one,
remember about that?
I'll tell you what I remember. Because we're from Herbie's camp, Salt and Pepper were on tour in '88 with Keith Sweat. Okay. It was a
Okay.
major tour. Like Keith
Mm-hmm.
Sweat and Salt and Pepper were huge in '88. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Herbie had us open for that tour. He had us do. I think we were on our third single at the time. We were on the
Okay.
Getting Funky single at this point. So we would go out, we get 10 or 15 minutes to perform. I remember us going out with the Too Hype shirts, like, the two. I had the Damn shirt, which nobody really knows unless you're a real fan and you've seen the pictures in the magazines. It was Too Damn Hype, not
Too Damn Hype.
It was Too Damn Hype.
It was on my wall, brother. It was from the Word Up magazine.
Word Up.
It was on my wall.
Rap Masters and Right On. Yeah, all of those magazines.
Yep.
So we went out in '88. That was the first big tour we were on. I remember at first, I don't even think they got to see me. I might have been DJing from like on the side or something, like I remember that clearly. Like I didn't even get to come out. Like it was just them guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but then that changed. They like Herbie's like, no, put him out there. But because we were so new and we're opening, no frills, just table
for sure,
equipment out there. You don't get the lights, you don't get the smoke, you don't get any of the effects that the groups.
Right.
You don't get special treatment. But I do remember how exciting it was, and for the crowd that was there at the time, it was still magical to be out there performing.
I bet, man.
In front of thousands of people. So
I bet, man.
Yeah.
Now I remember, I do believe you guys were weren't you guys a part of the assembled group of hip hop artists who boycotted the Grammys?
Yeah. And that was around that same time. And that's, we were. There's the famous picture of, Kid and Play, Salt-N-Pepa, Fresh Prince, Public Enemy, all of them boycotting. Yep.
Now, how did that kind of come about? Were you guys like approached about that, or how did that kind of play out?
Sure. I'm not sure who corralled that together, but I do remember that it was a big deal because, at that time, rap was still on the come up, but we were selling records. We were selling records and we were popular, and we were boycotting because the Grammy, the Grammy Academy, the Music Academy did not want to give us any airtime.
Right. Back then, we can't put these guys on TV.
Right. They were like, hey, we'll just mention, such and such one.
They're selling more records than everybody, but we can't,
it's an afterthought. Oh, and also these people won for best rap, this, that, or those categories that they just
speeding by. You can't even see.
Yeah, like, oh, really?
Yeah.
You ain't doing it. Yeah. And now, 40 years later, look at what's happened. Rap is everything, pretty much. Rap is dominating.
Well, you guys had to do what you had to do to make it. And I bring that up because that was huge. That was a huge event that played a part into getting where we are. Today.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, you always have some sort of movement for change that has to come with a protest somehow. And it always pays off.
Yeah, it does. And you have to be willing to make the sacrifice and understand, well, it's going to pay off for probably somebody after me.
Oh yeah. It's always.
But at the same time, you're the beneficiary of something that is paying off for somebody before you who didn't get
right.
Kid and Play's huge and touring because maybe Cold Crush never got that type of look, or you know what I mean? Yeah.
You're 100% on point, and that's why I had to mention earlier the people that came before us that inspired us, man. I talk about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and the Cold Crush Brothers and the Funky Four, plus one more, Shyrocket. All of those groups, Sugar Hill Gang, all of them, and all of the other crews that didn't even make records that influenced us, because there was there was a bunch of crews that didn't make records, that we just listened to the tapes that circulated around the city. You know, this is what birthed the entire culture that changed the world. This thing changed the world, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And so now fast forward a little bit more. You ended up in LA doing some stuff with Tommy Davidson, you mentioned.
Yeah. So
Um
again, I
what
moved
was
to
your
LA.
experience like in LA?
I moved to LA in late '99. Was working with Tommy Davidson for his production company, and because this is way out, Kid and Play had broke up in the early '90s. We disbanded. Play got saved. He didn't want nothing to do with the music no more. He was like, I'm done with this. And so Kid,
Mm-hmm.
Was doing his thing. He was living in LA in the early '90s. I was in New York, and I moved, like I said, in like late '99, working for Tommy's company, and I was basically going around the country with Tommy as his road manager and worked for his production company. And I'm
Okay,
still
right
DJ,
on.
I'm still DJ Wiz, so
Mm-hmm.
Tommy would do some showcases in the city at the Sunset Room. I was his DJ. I would do the after
Mm-hmm.
party. We had it popping, man. I was
Sure.
DJing on some of the TV shows as the house DJ. I want to give a shout out to Flex Alexander because he put me on the DJ for his show, One on One. I was the house DJ for that.
Right on. I remember that show, yeah.
Yeah. I was just doing my thing wherever I could around the city. I was not on the radio. I was still just DJ Wiz and still in my circle with working with Tommy. Kid was out there, so where I just got in where I fit in. And then again,
Gotcha. Exactly.
I working with Shivani. Shivani would try to look out for me and put me on where he could be on some tracks or the DJ here, or that's what
Mm-hmm.
people do though. It's when you
Exactly.
have a collective, you all just look out for each other and help each other. So I was a
It's
good
man,
hand.
it's everything, man. It's networking and who you know, and just having being shown favor by other people is necessary. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like even me being introduced to Shivani and his partner back then, Buster, like, it was through a family friend, you know what I mean? And then I've met a lot of people from Buster Shivani, including you and other people. And
Yeah.
so yeah, man, relationships are just
Everything.
everything.
Everything, bro.
So
Everything.
I want to ask you about, especially talking about the culture. Now we just saw the Super Bowl halftime show last
Mhm.
weekend with
Right.
uh, you know
The
Dr.
whole
Dre and Mary
the whole
J
Dr.
and
Dre's
everybody.
camp. Dr. Dre's, yeah,
The Dr. Dre show.
yeah.
I mean, not that Mary was broken by Dr. Dre. If
Mhm. He did
he
a
did the
couple
record
songs.
with Mary. He
Yeah,
did
he
a
did
couple
it.
songs, couple big records with Mary. Um, what was your opinion of the show? And I see mostly positive reviews. I see some people going as far as to say, "Oh, this is huge for hip hop culture." What are your thoughts on that, or what would you share about that?
I would say it's definitely huge for the culture as far as being presented to the entire world. To have a
Mm-hmm.
halftime show that was 95% hip hop, and I say
Mm-hmm.
5% Mary, just
Sure.
queen of R&B, um, representing Dre. But as far as the culture, it's incredible that they actually made that happen. Um, I'm
Mm-hmm.
still shocked that they did that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it. And I would have liked to have seen even more of the classic Dre, Snoop stuff. But they did what they could. And you only have
Mm-hmm.
a small amount of time to get all of that crammed in, you know.
Sure.
I like, which I didn't even really notice at the time when Eminem did what he did with the knee and all of that stuff. I was like, oh, I didn't really realize.
I had to go back and catch the quick
Yeah, but
snippet.
overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good presentation for the culture. I would have loved to see more classic stuff in there. Snoop and Dre, I love those guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just no frills, because at the top when they came out, they were just out there alone. It was pure hip hop, and they sound like they sound on the record. Like I
Very
love
true.
it. I love that.
Yeah.
Man. So if it was just them two alone, I could have did with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even need anybody else, to be honest with you. You know, but it was dope.
Gotcha.
Kendrick did his thing. He closed out big. You know what I'm saying? Again, Eminem, everybody, 50 coming out there. I didn't expect 50 to come out there the way he did. I was like, oh shoot, really?
I didn't either, and I thought it was dope because I'm like, well, I'm glad there's some New York hip hop representation here. So while we're saying this is big for hip hop culture, like I was still a little bit, and this is absolutely no disrespect to Dr. Dre, because he's been there from the very beginning. You know what I mean? But I was like, if we're talking about this hip hop cultural thing, like I would have almost been like, okay, let's get Dre to bring one or two of his top, and let's bring, I would have said Marley, but even if you just said Puff, to bring kind of the New York hip hop representation, just to make it a little bit more. But then, the Super Bowl was in LA, and they're always going to go more towards the popular, and this is not in any way disrespecting Dr. Dre or Snoop, calling him pop or anything like that, but they're the more popular artists, I suppose, especially being in LA. But I would have liked a little bit more, I don't know, just a little bit more New York representation, even though 50 was there, and of course marriage in New York, but like,
but
it seemed more like
the issue is because it was all about Dre. This thing was dedicated to Dr. Dre, so we couldn't have Puff or anybody come rain on his. I mean, you think about it. Like I said, they only get however many minutes to cram all.
Yeah. You can't bring everybody.
Yeah. This was a Dre dedication, basically. So that I'm sure Puff is gonna get his at some point in time. He's gonna get his.
I hope so.
Yeah, he's gonna get his.
But Dre, it makes sense if it's Dre that opened the door for this to happen again down the line.
Right.
I don't have a problem with it at all. You know what I mean? I just hope to see more representation at some point.
Oh yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, the Super Bowl, they're doing their thing. Because I remember a few years ago after Colin did his took the knee, and he got in trouble. There was a big thing about they wanted Travis Scott to not perform at the Super Bowl, but he performed, which was good. You know what I'm saying? Because he was really huge at the time. He did his song, he did his thing during halftime. So hip hop is not gonna be disrespected. We're getting prime Super Bowl time, which is unfathomable to me. Like I still can't believe we've come this far.
This is true.
This is true. So that's why I said it's inevitable. You're gonna see
for sure
these people get theirs. Especially somebody like Puff, who has so many artists under his belt.
That he's touched. And I just threw his name out there as an example. Like
right. I got you.
I mean, again, I'm from the. I'm just old enough where like, oh well, I'd rather see a Juice Crew review than a Bad Boy review, but I know what sells on TV. You know what I mean? Like, I would have rather seen the Juice Crew movie versus the NWA movie, but that's just me. And I get that.
Still in talks. Like I hear that's still coming. That's what I hear. But
yeah,
it's we probably won't see that on the Super Bowl because Middle America doesn't know about
and I get it.
Middle America don't know.
I get it.
But
yeah,
we may see it in some other music awards or something where
something
Marley and Herbie get their just due. You know what I'm saying? Because
Man, right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, I think, you can't say enough about Marley and Herbie, but not enough is said about Marley and Herbie.
Well,
You know what I mean?
other
Just
aside from,
my thoughts, but yeah.
I agree. I agree. Aside from
Yeah.
seeing them in the movies, you see Marley being represented in the Roxanne movie and Herbie being represented in the
Hmm.
Salt and Pepper Lifetime movie. That does nothing for their legacy. Like you really got to just focus on them. A documentary on these
Yeah.
guys. To
That's
really,
exactly.
yeah. I'm sure that
Exactly.
that's going to happen one way or the other. That's going to happen.
Hey man, maybe we got to make it happen.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Well, my brother, before I let you go, I want to ask you one more thing. Have you've probably used Serato before,
Yes, I use it now.
or are using Serato? What is your thoughts on how Serato has affected the world of DJing?
Um, Incredible. What Serato Scratch starting out as Scratch Live, and now it's Serato
Hmm.
DJ. It's
Hmm.
changed the world in ways that I would have never dreamed possible. We now have hundreds of thousands of DJs because of this, and all of the other DJ software that exists now, allowing people to become instant DJs and have access
Yeah.
to music playing from their computer. Um, I didn't like it at first because I thought, how can these new DJs come and just consider themselves DJs and get all of these high paying gigs, and they've only been DJing for like a couple months or a year or something like that. And
Yeah.
people don't acknowledge all of these people that came before that have actual
Yeah.
vinyl and records and
Yeah.
crates that paved the
Yes.
way for all of this to happen.
Yeah.
So at first, wasn't really feeling it. um, I remember hearing DJ Premier saying Serato should be like a graduation after you do all of that. So I kind of agree with that, but of course it's unrealistic because they don't really even sell vinyl anymore. So I mean, what we going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like you can't get
Well,
vinyl.
they have started selling. They have
You know?
started. It's there's a huge vinyl reemergence with the
Right.
millennial.
But vinyl costs a lot of money.
Yes, it does, and it costs even more now than it did back then.
That's what I'm saying. So
I mean, even like
even back in the early 2000s when it started to emerge, like with the DJ software, um, it's just inconvenient because you can't really travel with vinyl. You got these DJs going all over the world and all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
After 9/11, all of that became, you can't carry anything. You can't
Right.
carry 10 crates of records on the airline. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that ain't
Right.
happening.
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
used to take equipment on the airline and records and all of that.
Right.
Shut down after 9/11. So,
Wow.
Serato became a gift, but it also became a curse at the same time. So, I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to DJing, I would just like to see more creativity and more knowledge from the DJs as far as catalogs and what they play, and to really just learn the music, learn all of the different categories of music, and learn how to expand your base. Just to learn all of like
Yeah.
the from every generation. You need to know. So I think it's a
Absolutely.
gift. I think it's a beautiful thing considering all of what happened. We don't have vinyl. We can't carry vinyl. We can't do all of this. So
Mm-hmm.
Serato is necessary. It's definitely a gift.
Yeah. Gotcha. I guess you can pull more good than bad from it.
Yeah,
which
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is a
And
win.
and
Which
also,
is
you
a
know
win.
that saying, the cream rises to the top. You know,
Hmm.
DJs, the good DJs are going to shine. They're going to shine.
Still,
Yes, no
out
matter
of the
how.
hundreds of thousands that exist now.
Right, right, right. You
For
know,
sure.
there's a whole lot of DJs that are really dope, turntablists, scratchers, and all of that, but may not be a
Hmm.
good DJ to actually play a party. You know, you got to
Exactly.
balance everything together. It's all about balance.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All about that balance. And with that, my brother, DJ Wiz, man, this has been great, man. And I feel like we could keep talking about the 80s, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, maybe
And
we'll have a part two
we
in a
will
couple
pick this
months.
up, man.
Yeah, we'll have a part two in a couple months, man. But it was just good to catch up with you, to see you, man. It's great to see you again.
Yes, sir, man.
Congratulations on Crackle. That's a dope name, Crackle Jack. I love that, man.
Thank you, man. I
Love,
appreciate that.
love
Thank
that.
you, man. Shout out to my brother Reggie No.
Yeah.
He helped me with the marketing and coming up with the name and everything. We celebrate all things vinyl. And of course, no disrespect to Serrata because I use it too, but I just love playing records. I've been playing it since I
Right.
was, 4 years old. And so and I love, giving flowers to the living.
Right.
And so that's what we're doing here at Crackle Jack.
Appreciate you, man. Now
DJ
we'll do this
Wiz.
again. Like later in the year, we'll do it again, man.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate your time, man. I appreciate so much what you've done for the culture, and I appreciate you taking your time out to come talk to me, man.
Hey, man, it was a
Much
pleasure
love.
to catch up, Amelia.
We will catch up some more, Wiz. All right, my brother. You be well.
Okay. You too,
All
man.
right, peace.
Thank you.